Good morning. Thank you for joining us for Sunday School this morning. Today we are kicking off Lent and we are doing something special for Sunday School during the season of Lent. We are going to be studying a special book called Everybody Always. Now, what is really cool about this is that we are going to be reading this book for kids along with all of the grown-ups and all of the youth who are reading this book by the same author. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Bob Goff. Bob Goff is the author, and he is one of my favorite people in the whole world. Bob is very happy. Bob loves life. He loves to love people, and he loves Jesus maybe more than anybody I've ever met before. Now, this is a picture of Bob. Bob, you can see, he's just a happy person, right? He loves balloons, he loves parties, he loves celebrating. He really loves to make people feel loved, and he does that because he loves Jesus so much. Now, in this book, Bob is teaching us how to really become love. He is going to help us to learn how we can better love other people, how we can feel Jesus's love for us even more, and he does it through a lot of really fun stories. And so each week we'll hear one of these stories, and then we'll have a challenge for you to do with your family during the week. Now, as a reminder, this is a special time. It's called Lent, and if you remember, every year we work through the season of Lent, we work through the season of Advent as a church, and it prepares us for something special. Now, when we went through Advent just a couple of months ago, we were preparing ourselves for Christmas. Now we are going through the season of Lent to prepare ourselves for Easter. And so over these next few weeks, we are going to hear a lot about love, we'll hear a lot about Jesus, and we will be reminded of how incredible Jesus' love for us is. Now, I'd like to start off by sharing the story with you. And so today we are going to read a story called Carol's Parade.
Our story for today is called Carol's Parade. But in order to tell you about that, I need to tell you a little bit about Carol. Now, Carol was Bob Goff and his wife Maria's neighbor, and she moved into the house when Bob's kids were really young, and they became really fast friends. In fact, they almost really became a family. The kids loved to come over and show art projects to Carol, and Carol had a collection of monarch butterfly patterns that she loved to show the kids all the time. They were great friends for many years, but one day the conversation that Bob and Carol had was a little bit different. She didn't sound happy, and she told Bob that she had just found out that she was really sick and that she had cancer. Bob was really scared for her friend, but Bob knew the best thing that he could do for her was to be there for her and to love her. And so that is where our story begins. Let's hear about Carol's Parade. Our most special family holiday is New Year's Day. This surprises people because New Year's Day isn't normally a very big holiday for most families. But for us, we start looking forward to the next New Year's Day on January 2nd. We love the first day of the year because we spend it with our neighbors. Every January 1st, we decorate our street with more than 1,000 brightly lit colored balloons. Then we gather at the top of the hill and have a parade to celebrate the start of the new year. We've had this tradition for over 25 years, and every year hundreds of people meet us at the top of the street to walk in the parade together. Everyone is in the parade, and no one sits on the sides to watch. Our street isn't very long, so the people at the front of the parade usually reach the end before the people at the back have even started walking. We all just march past a couple of houses, then hang a right into our front yards and eat donuts together. One of the most important parts of our parade tradition is crowning a new queen. Each year we'll ask one of the neighbors on our street to be the queen of the parade. And we'll have a brunch that day before the parade with all the former queens to celebrate the moment. We set a rose at every queen's plate, and all the ladies discuss their favorite memories from living on the street that year and welcome the new queen. As I bet you can guess, Carol was our queen one year. And when the day of the parade came, she proudly led us down the street. Several years later, after Carol had gotten cancer and started to get better, she called me on the phone instead of on our walkie-talkies. "Bob," she told me, "the cancer is back." This time, Carol was even sicker than before, and she knew she wouldn't get better. The doctor told her she only had a few more months to live. At the end of the parade that year, instead of making a right turn into our front yards for donuts, the whole group made a left turn into Carol's yard. Carol sat in a chair in her living room looking out the window, and the whole parade passed right by her window and blew her kisses through the glass. We all got to say goodbye and tell Carol how much we loved her, and she got to wave goodbye to everyone. Each year, after the parade is over, another of our traditions is to collect the thousands of helium balloons we blew up that morning and tie them all together. Usually we'll tie that massive bunch of balloons to one of the kids on our street and see if we can make them fly. The year the parade went through Carol's yard, though, we did something a little different. Together with all the neighbors, we gathered up the balloons from the parade and tied them to Carol's house. My kids, who by that time were all grown up, ran up the hallway to Carol's room with another big bunch of balloons and tied them to her bed. "We've been up to a little mischief, Carol," they told her with a laugh. And when Carol looked out her window, all she could see were balloons. Later that week, Carol went home to be with Jesus. I like to think that she had her second parade of the week. I'm not exactly sure what it will be like when we get to heaven, but I'm guessing it'll look a lot like the parade. Everyone gathered with thousands of balloons, welcoming people to the neighborhood. When I get to heaven, I really hope to live across the street from Carol again. The Bible is filled with little glimpses of what heaven will be like, but one thing in particular is repeated over and over. There won't be any fear or sadness in heaven, and the best part, we'll get to live with Jesus. When Jesus was on earth, he taught about loving our neighbors. Even though Jesus really meant that he wants us to love everyone, no matter where they live, the truth is, I've often learned the most about love from my actual neighbors, the people who live on my street and who I see almost every day. While we wait for heaven, we have a special job to do, and it's this: to love our neighbors. What do you think? You could do to love people near you. It might be a parade, or it might be something even better.
I hope you loved that story as much as I do. He just has such a way of finding really fun and crazy things to do for other people, but they always are so meaningful. And I wish that I was friends with Bob. I wish that Bob was able to do some fun things for us. Now, I want to bring us back to one part in this story. At the end, let me just remind you what he writes. He wrote, "When Jesus was on earth, he taught us about loving our neighbors." Even though Jesus really meant that he wants us to love everyone, no matter where they live, the truth is, I've often learned the most about love from my actual neighbors, people who live on my street and who I see every day. Now, Jesus does talk about loving our neighbors, and so I encourage you can press pause and go grab your Bible, but let's all find this in a Bible together. In our Bible, we're going to look in the second half of the Bible, with, if you remember, is the New Testament. And so this is when Jesus appears. And so this is when we hear stories about Jesus. And I want you to find the book of Mark. Mark is one of our four Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And so you'll find Mark, and then you're going to find chapter 12. And remember, we're looking for the big numbers for our chapter. So we're going to find chapter 12. And then we are going to find verse 31. And I might back us up just a tad bit to verse 29, and you're looking for the little numbers now. And let me read you what this says. You can look along with me. Jesus replied, "The most important commandment is this: our God is the one Lord, and you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your being, with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. The second greatest commandment is this: you will love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these." Jesus really teaches us how to love other people. And he says in that scripture, loving our neighbor is one of the greatest commandments. It's one of the greatest things we can do. As Bob said, I think that means loving anybody, no matter if they live next door to us or if they live 3 states away. But I think Bob is also right. We can start right here in our neighborhood, right here in the people that live around us. I want to share something special about a neighbor in our community. This family moved into a house on the corner of a pretty busy intersection. This is an intersection where the high school is just right past their house. One of the biggest middle schools is right there. And so a lot of people drive by their house on the corner every single day. Now, during quarantine, they decided to change their corner, and where it was just grass before, they built, you'll see it in a picture in just a minute, but they built something that talks about love. Then, fast forward a few months, last December, they put 2 stakes in the ground, and they put some rope going across, and they decided to do something special each month for the community. So in December, on these ropes, they clothespinned a craft for kids to do. And so you could come to their house, take the craft with you, and have a Christmas thing to do at home. During January, they did little Ziploc bags of mittens and hats and scarves. And so if you needed something, because it was so cold, you could go there and take something from the line. For February, they have strung up hearts, and they've encouraged people to come and to write messages on hearts and to leave them on the rope for other people to read. It is a really cool thing to see when I drive by every day on my way to work. It's a great reminder to go into my day loving other people. And it's also just a really comforting thing to know that we have people that live near us that they want to show people how much they love their community. Let me show you a picture of what this corner looks like. Take a look. That was really neat, wasn't it? So you could see that they've not just decorated the front, but they have those little lines with those things clothespinned to the rope. I'm curious to see what March is going to bring. Maybe something with flowers, I don't know. But it is a really neat thing that this family has done in our community. Now, I said that each week we're going to give you guys a challenge. And so my challenge for you is something pretty simple. Think of something creative that you can do to show your love to your neighbors. It could be something that you do for your neighbor next door. We have a really nice couple that lives next door to us. They're an older couple, so maybe we might make them dinner or make them some cookies and bring them over. We also have some kids who live across the street, and sometimes they'll write cards and leave them in our mailbox, so maybe we'll do the same thing back for them. But think of a way that you can show love to the people that live around you. Love your neighbors. That's one of the greatest commandments that Jesus said. I want you to think of something great, and I would love to hear or see what you decided to do. So share it with Mr. Bryant and with myself. We would love to see. And if we can, we'd love to share those in the future with the rest of our Sunday school group. I really, really am happy that you joined me today for Sunday school. I hope that you come back next week to hear another really cool story from Bob. And I hope that you have a great week. Let's end with a prayer. Loving God, we give thanks for your Son, Jesus. We give thanks for the love that Jesus shows to us and the ways that Jesus teaches us to love others. Continue to work in our lives, helping us to show our love to other people. Help us to have a wonderful week and bring us back together. Amen.